I know that I said that I'd done all I could here about this whole Monique situation, but over the weekend, her and her husband released a video where I was doing an interview and I detailed my daughter's sexual trauma. Monique has taken that video and perverted it for her own uses. She decided to add her own narrative. I will only say this, and I'm answering this now in response to a request from my daughter, who, of course, over the weekend was crying, of course, having her trauma trotted out in front of the world in a situation she had nothing to do with, that doesn't have anything to do with a contract, would be traumatizing to anybody, particularly when it's from somebody who claims to love us for real. But she...
LTTV, Blunt Talk with LT, back at it with another video. All right, so let's get into this one. So DL Hughley responds to Monique going on a rant on her IG Live with her husband, talking shit about his family now. So after a situation with a contract, after she aimed her attacks at DL instead of the promoter, who clearly double booked, she's doubling down. She's going on IG Live rants, and she's bringing his family into it now. So she's talking about his daughter. Let's get into this video. There's a lot here. Massive reaction. We got into some Steve Harvey backstory history with Monique is brought up in this video, along with Steve Harvey interview with DL Hughley speaking about Monique being difficult to work with. Let's get into this.
She proceeded to talk about how I let a man touch my child, which nothing could be further from the truth. They were both 13 years old. They were friends that had grown up together. She told me about it years later, and when she told me about it, I, and this is something I lament to this day, denied that I said, well, you know, that's what kids do. Now, that was my estimation of it. It was not her interpretation of it. She was hurt by that. And I will never forgive myself for not, A, believing her, and B, handling it the way I did. But for Monique, A, to put a man in that room, which never happened, and B, to bring up sexual trauma in an argument that has nothing to do with what you're talking about, is unconscionable. My daughter Tyler addressed it, my daughter Ryan addressed it with her in a letter. And the thing that I was most proud about in the letter is not only that she held her head high, because she's supposed to. The other thing is she said there are legitimate things you could have gone after my father about, because my children know exactly who I am. They know that I'm not perfect. They know that I'm flawed. And none of them would have a problem with you assailing things that are really true. But you and your husband putting a man in my daughter's room, and that is not what I said, and weaponizing it and using in a trite argument shows exactly how low you are. You are a monster. You literally are. You didn't play Precious. You didn't play Precious's mother. You let her out. You stopped pretending to be human, and you won a role for being you won a Oscar for being exactly who you are. Who says they love women and are there for women and protect the babies and would trot out someone's sexual trauma just to use in an argument? I don't know anything about you. I know that what happened to you when you were a child, what happened to you when you were growing up, those things are traumatic to you, and I would never bring them up. Never. It would never occur to me to do it, because that's not where I live. That's not what I do. You have had this argument or this show be about everything. It was about a contract. It was not. It was about an insult on the radio station, on my radio station. The question never aired. You know it never aired. And you continue to have this. And then you have the temerity to answer my daughter's letter with an invitation to come on my show. I will never let you on my show. Never. You will never talk to my children. I will never have anything to do with me. You do not exist. Maybe leaving my children out of your mouth will leave you room for the food you love so much. Never have anything to do with me. You do not exist. Maybe leaving my children out of your mouth will leave you room for the food you love so much. Look, you can continue to do whatever you want to me. That is fair game. I'm in this business. For you and your husband to continue to do things like this, you have already, first it was a contract. You've attacked everything. The dog, my wife, now my children. Enough. You do not exist to us. You don't get to break my family. You don't get to do that. I don't know if you ever had a man who loved you as much as I love my children. I don't know if you've ever had anybody who's standing in your stead, because the man next to you damn sure ain't doing it. All he's doing is wrecking what's left of the rubble of a career that you're pretending to build, trying to build back. Leave my...
Now, a lot of people say that. Make sure y'all hit the like button upon entry. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. We're going to break this down. A lot of people say that. A lot of people definitely have an issue with Monique and say she's very hard to work with. And a lot of people say her husband, who is her manager, is very difficult to deal with. And you see some of the awkward tension in some of the videos we're about to react to with people having to deal with Monique. Listen, y'all, I've been to the Netflix buildings, the production studios in Toronto. These motherfuckers do not like Monique. The names that come up in the production studios that I've been to, they don't like Vin Diesel, hard to work with, talk a lot of shit about Vin Diesel. They say he's arrogant, full of himself, and they do not like Monique. And that is not no industry secret. That is well-known news in the production companies and in Hollywood. So let's get into this. People can say whatever they want, but you move's difficult. Everything has to be on your terms. If y'all understand, that contract that was drafted up for that performance was a contract written by her team, her husband. It wasn't the same deal memo that DL Hughley was dealing with. Same venue, same night, same show, way different contracts because she does everything under her own terms. And some people, it's like, yeah, you can do that, but some people don't like it. It rubs certain people the wrong way, and sometimes you become difficult to work with. Like Kyrie Irving sometimes. He does everything on his own terms. He's super talented, but sometimes you may be difficult to work with when everything has to be on your own terms.
Children alone.
If there's no compromise in business.
Stay with me and we're fine. You're a horrible woman. You love women like Ike loves Tina. Now that girl over there, well, I shouldn't call you a girl, this woman over here.
Now I'm going to play the rest of this out. But we need to see that live. We need to react to that live because it didn't need to get to this place. You didn't get the headline of show. Great. So you're dragging his entire family into this, and then you wonder why people say you're hard to work with. You take things to the extreme in places that it doesn't need to go. Sometimes Monique gets on like one of these YouTube motherfuckers. Like, you know, these YouTube motherfuckers that be arguing with Tommy for no reason. Some of those dusty old women. That's the way she conducts business in Hollywood. And it's like, you can't do that shit there. You can't even do that shit on YouTube.
You know one thing for sure. I love you. And I'd never let it. And I'm your daddy for real. And you don't have to pay me for it. One day I hope that you're happy and you can stop being such a miserable, low human being. Maybe one day you will get to be as small as you often act. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up at 50.
I tell guys all the time, man, never trust a fat bitch with little titties. What? Think about this. What good has Monique brung to anybody around her? Look at Monique has been a terrorist to everybody around her.
That's true. I can't think of one.
Fat bitches with little titties, let me tell you, it's the worst thing in the world because their stomachs stick out further than their titties. See, a bitch with some big ass titties can still be fat, but her titties, the ratio of titties is more than the stomach. But if you got a chick that's shaped like a penguin, she gonna torment people. I've worked with fat bitches with little titties. In corporate, you gotta watch your back, man. That's one of the worst. You know what I'm saying? They like white women with short hair. Can't be trusted. I'm just telling you. Now, when you go out here to observe this shit, and y'all go to Texas and shit, right? Motherfucker, you go to a restaurant and there's a mean ass fat bitch with some little titties. You'll be like, this motherfucker's real. I'm trying to tell you, man.
Speaking of facts, baby.
All right, that was Khalid Talk. I work very hard to control the environment I work in comedically. I only work where I want to work and who I want to work for. I want to work with. I don't work because that is a very precious place to me. I've been offered a gig, a couple of gigs, 3 or 4 gigs, to work with Monique in LA, in Brooklyn, in Houston, and I turned them down because I didn't think it would work. So after talking to a lot of people, and one of the very people in this room about how things are different, 2 of the very people in this room, as a matter of fact, and how things are different, and look at how things are coming around, I decided it would be wrong for me not to give somebody a chance based on things that they'd never done to me. That would have been wrong to me. And when she talks, she goes on her diatribe, and she talks about me having my feet under her table.
Now, that same benefit of the doubt that he afforded her, a lot of people in the industry do afford Monique that benefit of the doubt. It's like, okay, your reputation kind of stinks. People say X, Y, and Z about your behavior and the way your conduct is, but I haven't had that personal experience with you, so I'm going to give you that benefit of the doubt. And 9 times out of 10, it ends up like this. And we've seen a lot of people get on mic and talk negatively about their experience with Monique.
That was at her invitation. I was doing a gig in Greenbelt, Maryland. She lived in Baltimore. She was having a fight party. It was I think Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson, and sure enough, I came to her table at her invitation, and it was a wonderful time. As a matter of fact, it was based on that interaction, along with talking to people, I decided that I would do these gigs. I decided I would do it. And now I know what Tyler Perry knows, I know what Lee Daniels knows, I know what Oprah knows, I know what Steve Harvey knows, I know what Charlamagne the God knows, I know what Nick knows. Saying yes to Monique is an occupational hazard. Now, we're playing a gig in Detroit this weekend. I know I'm going on at 9:45. I leave the hotel. I get there around 9. Monique had just gotten there. She was supposed to be there at 8:40. She had just gotten there, gone at 8:40. She got there at 8:38. What Monique was trying to do was to slow walk the show. She didn't end up getting on for 30 minutes. The oldest trick in the world is, if I want to change the order and I don't have merit, I'll try to make people wait so long that everybody gets nervous and go, please, just go on so we can avoid a conflict. That didn't happen. Monique got on stage. Monique actually felt like she had merit. She would have done 1 of 3 things. Either she would have took it up with the promoter, and she did, and the promoter said, we're going on, and whether you're going or not, that's a different thing. You would have not done it, but she knew she had to get on stage, or she would have been in breach of contract, or she would have come to talk to me. She didn't ever, and I emphatically emphasize this, she never once talked to me. I haven't seen Monique in years. I didn't see her at the venue before, after, or during. I haven't spoken or seen Monique. So if you really thought that you had a legitimate contract dispute, you would have come to me and said, hey, I have this contract and you had this contract. Notice not one thing on that contract, not one person she has on that contract, not one thing happened. Do you know?
Now, if y'all watched the last reaction where I broke down what happened with the actual performance, and we reacted to Monique getting on stage and dogging out DL, and then DL having to go up on stage and follow that mess. If y'all remember that reaction, I showed you there was a paper, and it was the sound check. So there was sound check at 3:30. They both had sound check at the same time. So they were there to warm up and do sound check and check out, test out everything before the show actually happened in the venue. So she had ample amount of time to actually have the conversation with him. But she didn't want to do that. She wanted to get on stage and drag him through the mud.
Why? Because it wasn't legitimate. And she goes on stage, and she proceeds to eviscerate me. Not just me, but Steve Harvey, the sexual, my wife, my dog later on in subsequent conversation. Let me ask you something. What did any of that have to do with an alleged contract dispute? What did Steve Harvey have to do with your contract? What did I have to do with your contract? What did my dog have to do with your contract? What does my wife have to do with your contract?
Fucking dog.
You wrote your contract, you and your daddy. You proceeded to say things that were so patently insulting that it was galling. It was galling. You asked in subsequent conversations why I have a dog, a support dog. What kind of person has a support dog? I have that dog because my father died. My children and family decided they would get a dog from where he was from, and I named the dog after my father. I don't have a dog to keep people away from me. I have a dog so I have my father with me all the time. That is an act of love which you know very little about.
What?
Yeah, I appreciate the sentiment, but I don't get it either. The father lives within the dog. Like, we didn't need an explanation, DL. Like, you're in the right. I get it. Monique is hard to work with. She fucking up shit. I didn't need the explanation about your dog because I don't get it. The spirit of your father resides in your dog. That's not for me. It's for y'all, though. Cool. All right, let's get back into it.
You proceeded to assault my sexuality. You have the temerity to assault someone's sexuality, a man's sexuality, given who you lay next to? None of that had anything to do with alleged contract dispute. You could have taken that up with a lawyer. You would have gotten out. You could have not gone on stage, but you knew you didn't have a valid contract. And you do what you always have done. You tried to weaponize black femininity. You tried to turn that audience against me. You tried to burn everything down. Like you do all the time.
Yep, and that's what I highlighted in the last breakdown. I do not like when people hijack social issues to try to have a bunch of people riding and bolstering their points because they think it has something to do with their social issue. And it's not about anybody but that single person who is selfish and only fixated on their success and not worrying about whatever the hell they do to anybody else in the meanwhile. So let's get back into this.
Who calls Netflix and thinks I can get $10 million because I did the Queens of Comedy? Who thinks you can get on stage and still live off that? I was a king of comedy. You never hear me talking about it because in this business, like any other, it isn't what you have done, it's what you do. That show was one I signed on to do. I made the quintessential mistake, the horrible mistake that like Tyler Perry, like Lee Daniels, like Oprah, like all these people of saying yes to you. And it is an occupational hazard. It is my fault. I have learned my lesson. You didn't just, and the thing that bothers me the most isn't the things that you said, because I know who I am and I know what I do. And I have a pristine reputation. And everybody who knows me know what I'm about. It's this whole, my dear, my babies, I love you for real, which is so transparently false, it is ridiculous. But the thing that was really the most annoying, the thing that was really the most bothersome, is after a terrible couple of weeks where people were being slain in Buffalo, where people were being slain, kids were getting slain in school, and people had come to a comedy show to get away from all of their problems, you besieged them with yours. The one contract that isn't in dispute is the one that the audience had with us to entertain them. But every single time, more and more, you spend half of your time talking about your grievances and what you didn't get and who did this to you. Listen, when you burn things up and you sit back to watch the results of them, she's literally set that stage on fire, said the most incendiary things ever, and I had to go on stage. She has the temerity to call me a coward. A coward would have left. A coward would have said, I can't go. You didn't even want to go on when you had a contract that you knew that not to be true. You made up this whole narrative that you knew not to be true, and you played that out in front of the audience. And then I had to go on behind you. And you know what you did? You sat back and you tried to watch your damage. You set the stage on fire and you watched.
Horrible.
You know who does that? Arsonists do that. Arsonists set shit on fire and try to see the damage it drops. But I blame myself because I know now what I didn't before. Saying yes to you is an occupational hazard, one I will not repeat. I don't blame you. I wish you well. But when you do the things you do, when everything's about you, when you're vitriolic, when you have all these fights with all of these entities, it is you. Precious was not a movie. Precious was an autobiography. That is who you are, literally. You mad at the contract you and Daddy wrote, your daddy? And I don't know why you call a man daddy and you pay for him. That's a son. Let's be clear. I am not angry with you. I'm angry with me. I did what I knew not to be true. But I'm going to tell you something. When you burn and you destroy and you wreck, you are not a queen of comedy. You're a queen of ashes. Now, I'm going to go back to work, and you get back to your kingdom of smoke. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. I was telling you about the Monique interview, and I hadn't gotten a chance to see it. I guess Lou, my road manager, had pulled it up, and the interview played like two people who love each other and had a disagreement. Mm-hmm. And then the backlash was I didn't understand because I thought you were trying to do something solid for somebody. And then it turned into something that I thought was just, I couldn't believe it was going on.
Now, this was a few years ago. This is the Steve Harvey incident with Monique. DL Hughley speaking to Steve Harvey about this. Let's get into this one.
And just really kind of being condescending towards her. Just a lot of stuff. I was like, I didn't really
And the
get
interview
that.
didn't play like that to me. And I just, at your show we were talking and you were explaining that it had been a very long interview.
I mean, the interview actually was 52 minutes.
Jesus, wow.
I edited to protect her because it was some really crazy stuff. But
we're also going to react to that interview right after this.
What was crazy was in protecting her, I left myself out there too. You know, I misspoke. It didn't get covered right because if you had seen the whole interview, it was it was just two people who've known each other for a long time.
Right.
We go back to kings and queens.
Right.
Big brother, little sister conversation that we should have had in private.
Right.
Be honest with you, that we had out loud in front of people.
Right.
That's how we've been talking to each other for years. People thought it was, oh, he talking condescending.
If they hear
to her.
the stuff that's even if the cameras actually come on while this show was on, I'd be not working right now.
Yeah, that's right. A lot happens, man, when minds like this are talking.
Right.
And so what happened was the integrity piece. When I said you can't sacrifice your money for your integrity, I was referring simply to the integrity of the method that was chosen to go about accomplishing your means.
Right.
That's all I was talking about.
Right.
And if you had heard the whole interview, it would have made perfect sense. But
Shout out to C Butterfly for the super chat. Let's get back into it.
I got ate up for it, so I learned some valuable lessons.
What?
You know, think really hard before you talk. You know, pick your words, because, you know, DL amongst us is probably the most intelligent. The rest of us, me, Bernie, and Sid, they ain't quite mastered the English language the same way, so I thought I was just fine.
Let's do GED to his ass.
I mean, and what's crazy is this dude right here, I'm telling you, man, was like the dude we wanted to do the interviews for us, because he was articulate. Me, Bernie, and Sid, we were just sitting there going, yeah. And you know, man, when it all jumped off, it got out of control. And you know, anybody that knows me, like brothers like you, and I spent my whole life being a person of integrity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all I've ever done. And you know, it's kind of hurtful, man, when you hear black people talking about you.
Man,
because
it hurts. I tell you what, it hurts me knowing you. I'm like, hey, man, like I go play. What about your boy? I'm like, hey, man, I don't get the impression the cat that you.
Listen to me, man. When you say sellout in coon, what?
Right.
Who you talking about? The only way you can say that is you can't know me.
Yeah.
You can't know me,
You
dog.
can't.
It's no way you know me.
Right.
You're a person who has never met me.
Right.
First of all, to sell out, I would have to be originally for a cause and then forsake that cause for money, fame, or some other type of trinket.
Right.
What have I ever done in my career that says that? Integrity is when you do what you say you're going to do.
Yep, that's facts. TG says she doesn't handle herself with class either, even if she were wronged by DL. The way she confronts the situation is unprofessional. And that's what turns off a lot of fans, turns off a lot of people in the industry, turns off a lot of people from wanting to work with her, because it's like, all right, even if you were right here, which you're not, the way you go about things, you want to burn down everything someone's created just to prove that you are right or for them to apologize, and you don't give a fuck. And we're going to definitely see it in the next interview with the things that are said to her by Steve Harvey. Let's get into this. There's a lot here.
When have I ever not done?
Right.
There's not a single brother on this planet that could say Steve Harvey stepped on him, messed over him, jacked him around. I ain't that dude.
Yeah.
I mean, man, look, hey, man, if you call me and you say, brother, I need, you get that back.
Right.
But that's the same way you are with me.
Right.
That's the same way I am with everybody that know me. So, you know, man, it kind of pisses you off a little bit, man, because you be wanting to go, you know, your black hair. Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
This is.
Let's get the whole thing on screen. All right. Sorry, y'all. Have to pause it real quick because everybody knows that's a lie. It's not just because you said no. This is Hollywood. You're allowed to express your no's, turn down contracts, say no, this ain't right. Many people do it. That's a total fabrication.
It's a total fabrication.
Sorry, y'all. I have to interrupt here. But the boycott on Netflix was the most outrageous thing in the world. It was so stupid. She didn't get paid what she wanted for a comedy deal. So she said, oh, discrimination. They're doing X, Y, and Z to black women. They don't like them. Everyone boycott. For what reason? Because you didn't get your way? There was no examples of anything other than your contract not being honored. You're not getting the same money as Dave Chappelle, Amy Schumer, people that are actually active. Yeah, Amy Schumer's not funny, but she's active and they can make money. So it made a good deal. But it's like you weren't out there like that. That's what DL Hughley was talking about. She's trying to live off the Queens of Comedy that was 20 plus years ago and trying to act like that can leverage you a deal on Netflix for a comedy special in 2022. Or it was 2020 or whatever at the time. But it's
White man's game.
It's definitely not the black man's game. It's not the white man's game. They always make it this color issue, but you cussed off three black people. Lee Daniels, Oprah, Tyler Perry. That's three motherfuckers. They're all black. Talk about this whole, we always conflate these issues and make them black issues. No, it's simple business. You are not conducting business with the requisite decorum to get further in the industry. And you want it your way and you want to buff up your chest and say whatever the fuck you want to say to everybody and let them deal with it while they appease you and move forward. You're not going to get up on stage and tell these motherfuckers that have all the power in the studios to suck your dick and fuck you and blah, blah, blah. And then, all right, have your hands out to them. All right, help me. Get me a deal. It's like, what the fuck do you think this is? You could see why Steve Harvey was so frustrated here because he spoke about in the last interview that they cut out so many things. It's the way she tries to manipulate the narrative and try to make it some integrity thing, make Steve look like some sort of sellout, like they're not looking out for black people when you're acting a goddamn fool. We're supposed to stand up for this shit. Like, come on, man. I'm disgusted. He did everything he possibly can to extend an olive branch. I'm sorry for this. I was accountable for this. I should have called. All sorts of things. She's unaccountable at every corner. Working with someone like this it's insanity. Why would you want to work with someone so difficult? Everything that they do, even though it's clearly wrong, is right, and everything that you do, you have to be accountable for, and you're wrong. So if you have an altercation where you wrong her and she wrongs you several times in return, it does not matter that she wronged you several times in return. You have to be accountable and completely apologetic for what you did to her, while she's not going to apologize to anybody. She didn't apologize for anything. She didn't say she was wrong about anything. She was right at every corner, even the way she conducted herself. And even when it gets to this and it gets to the point where people have to defend you and be like, oh, you're not that difficult to work with. Oh, you're talented. You're X, Y, and Z. You have to call people backstage or behind scenes and be like, you got to stand up for me. You got to protect my name. Why? Because you're constantly running your own name through the mud by being difficult to work with. No one has ever said that Monique is not talented. No one ever said that she sucks and she can't act, she can't do comedy. No one has ever said that. The only thing they ever said about Monique is that she's difficult to work with. This whole conversation was awkward and tense as fuck. This whole, oh, my baby, my love, that old grab your hand shit, that awkward fake bullshit. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. I ain't fucking with that. I'm not working with difficult motherfuckers like this, and I ain't standing up for them. Just because we're black, we're supposed to stick together, but you acting a damn fool. I ain't standing up for that. You difficult to work with. You drag everybody's name through the mud. You come for their family, their business, everything that they stand for because you disagree with something. And you said it yourself. You need to learn how to agree to disagree. But you can't. You have to be right. You have the need to be right. But let's wrap this one up. We have a lot to talk about today. Make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Yikes. I don't blame people for not working with Monique. She is difficult. It is what it is. Conduct yourself better. Talks about, oh, it's all with love. Steve Harvey says love usually looks and sounds like love. We don't have to look for the love when it's supposed to be directly delivered. We have to find it through all the bullshit that you say. Oh, but this is love, though. Yeah, mimicked in all sorts of fuckery, all sorts of disrespect. We got to find that live stream with her disrespecting DL Hughley's family because that was unnecessary. Why? Because he was the headliner because your ego couldn't handle that you weren't the headliner, because your ego couldn't handle that they're making all these millions on Netflix and nobody's checking for you like that. Fuck out of here.
You stupid.